It seems epoxy is all the rage these days. For me, I've had great success using EcoPoxy. Stick with us as we share a few thoughts that might help you on your journey into the world of epoxy. Hey, Vince.
Hey, Dennis, just the man I want to see.
I heard you had some questions about EcoPoxy.
I do. I'm curious about it. I've been doing a little bit of research, and I was hoping you could fact check me to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
And I know you've used it, so.
I have used it. I didn't research it though, so.
Okay.
I love it. It's good stuff.
One of the things that I found really curious about it is that it's an environmentally friendly type of epoxy.
I would say that. I guess from my standpoint, it doesn't create any fumes to speak of. It's always good to have ventilation, but I do my pours in the basement and I've had absolutely no problem with that at all.
And that's a big deal for a lot of people that don't have a dedicated shop space.
Sure. Well, temperature is a deal, so that's why I end up going in the basement rather than the garage where it might be colder. So.
All right. So I know that there are a few different lines of EcoPoxy, and this is the FlowCast, which.
Right. And that's what I have experience with. They have a UV epoxy, which is for shallower pours, like up to 1/4 of an inch. I haven't actually used that yet, so one of these days I'm going to. But this is up for, like, say, 1/4 of an inch up to about 1.5 inches pour.
So that's what you would use for a river table or something thick like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what I did use. Yep.
Right. So we've got the resin and then a hardener. It's 2 parts, and you have to mix them together.
Yeah, it's an easy mix. 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener, and stir for 7 minutes, and you got it.
And then does that dry clear, or is it white, or how?
It is clear. It's absolutely clear until you add pigment. So that they've got several different colors. I've used a lot of blue, of course, but.
Okay. And then what are the little jars there? Different colors? Or?
Oh, this is where the magic happens, Vince.
Okay.
This is the metallics. So as you're mixing that, and then you want a little bit of different effect, you can just mix in some metallic and mix that in. It has to be mixed well also. But that's what gives you that shimmer and glisten that you get.
Sure.
And so
it gives it a little depth.
This is where it happens right here.
Well, do you feel like doing a little demo for us?
I could do that.
All right.
What do you got in mind?
I thought maybe we'd just make some coasters, something fairly simple.
Oh, well, okie dokie. I've done coasters before, but I've never done coasters using that silicone mold.
Yeah.
So we'll give that a try. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, well, I'll clear this stuff away and we'll get set up for that.
Yeah, you get that cleared away and then we'll get set up for that, Vince.
Yeah, I'll make it happen, Captain.
Well, thanks for getting all that cleaned up, Vince, so that I could get set up for this pour.
That's no problem. I see you started off by covering this bench up in plastic.
Oh, buddy, that's the most important part here. You don't want epoxy on your bench. Trust me, I know. I've gone there and I didn't like it. So yeah, I've got plastic. It's always going to be good to have towels and rags. And of course, you've got your epoxy here and something to stir it in and a stir stick. And then we'll have the pigment itself and whatever colors you want to put into it. So we have that. We have a release agent that I'm going to spray on that mold, and that'll just help that epoxy pop out of that mold when it's cured. And you'll notice I got a level here, so this needs to be level.
Why is that?
Well, if it isn't level, you're going to have highs and lows on your coasters, so that wouldn't be good.
Oh, okay, sure.
It's just important that it be level. And we've already leveled this one. I put a couple of pieces of tape underneath there to just shim it just slightly on this end. And the other thing about the silicone mold here, is that the silicone won't stick to that epoxy. So I think we're actually ready if you want to get started on the pour.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First thing I'm going to do, Vince, is I'm going to spray this mold with that release agent. But the mold's level, so I'm not going to move it. No moving. So like I said before, Vince, I'm going to mix this 2 parts to 1, 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener. So And I figured that I need around 225 milliliters or so. And it's always good to be as exact as you can. So now I'm going to put in the hardener and we're going to fill it up to around 225 milliliters. And that should be enough to do what these two coasters take. So now we need to stir. I don't stir very hard. I go back and forth.
You have to be careful not to introduce bubbles into it, or is that?
Yeah, I really try to stir slow. The slower you go, it seems the less bubbles that you're going to get. You know, the can says around 5 minutes, but I don't know where I came up with 7, so I've always kind of targeted 7 minutes. I know you didn't see this, but as we started out, it was pretty milky in color, but it's turning pretty clear right now, so.
And I notice you're kind of scraping the sides of the mixing cup as you go.
I do. You want to make sure that you get all that hardener and resin mixed together. So now that I'm 5 minutes into it, I can go ahead and add that pigment, I think. And these, we were going to use blue. Well, I'm going to add a drop. I tried to maybe just a drop, maybe 2. That was a pretty big drop, so I'm going to let it go at that. And then we just keep stirring. The pigment takes a little bit of time to mix in too. I mean,
is there any danger of overstirring it?
Not to my knowledge. I've not worried about it. I know I've stirred 7 minutes and beyond, and I got to believe stirring's not a bad thing. So I think this is mixed up pretty good. The thing we have to do is we have to determine whether that's the blue we want or not. If we want it darker, we can add another drop, but I think it's looking pretty good. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put in just a little bit of Caribbean metallic.
Ooh, sounds exotic.
That's just like I told you before, this is where the fun is. I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason to this either. I try not to overdo it because you can always add a little more. So we got to mix this in, and this takes a little doing too. I mean, these kind of tend to clump up a little bit, so don't get nervous. You just got to keep stirring, and you want to stir beyond what you think because there's bound to be some clump there that you can't see. I think I'm actually going to add just a little bit more. And that's one of the fun things because everyone's different.
Sure.
Everyone's unique. That should be enough, though I probably won't add any more after this because it can stick to the sides of the container and everything. So, you know, you got to stir good. So I think we're about done stirring here, Vince. I know it's been over 7 minutes, but then part of that is because we're doing a video. So.
Right.
But it's looking pretty good. Vince, we're ready for the magic moment. It's time to pour. Here we go. Wish me luck.
All right.
And they recommend that you not scrape the sides. So to get every last little drop out of the container, as much as you want to, shouldn't do it. As luck would have it, we came out just about right. We're pouring this to a 1/2 inch deep. And there we go, Vince. Now there's nothing left to do but wait. And it takes 72 hours, they say. And in my experience, it doesn't matter whether it's a coaster or a 3-foot river table, you're gonna need 72 hours at least. It's a chemical reaction, so.
It just takes that long to cure.
It does. Yeah. You want it to go faster, but you don't.
Okay.
So another thing I might mention also, Vince, is that it would be good to have some sort of a small blowtorch available, because what can happen is bubbles. And in every project I've done so far, there have been bubbles. I can't see any here, so I don't know if that means I mixed it so well. I don't know. But anyway, as far as the torch goes, you want to make sure that the flame doesn't touch the silicone because it could ruin your mold. So you just want the heat, not the flame. But you'll need, if you have bubbles, you're going to want to get rid of them. But if I wanted to, and I will, you can still go in there and kind of shift things around a little bit if you want to. you know, you can always hope that it's going to stay, but the important thing is just to be happy with however it turns out, because everyone looks different. And even though I'm doing this right now, we come back in a few minutes or an hour or so to check on bubbles and stuff, it could very well look different again. It's hard to walk away because you just want to keep putzing with it, but at some point you gotta walk away.
There you go, sure.
Walk away, Dennis. It's a new day in the studio. We've poured about 22 hours ago, and to look at this, it looks just the same as when I poured it. You can't really see any difference, but believe me, there are things going on here, and resist every temptation to touch it or poke it or do anything with it. EcoPoxy isn't like other epoxies. They say it takes 72 hours to cure. It takes 72 hours to cure. So as time goes by, you're gonna want to touch it, I can tell you, because I've been there, but don't do it. At 48 hours and you touch it, you're gonna have a fingerprint that you gotta sand away. So the best thing you can do is just trust the process and walk away and show up in 72 hours and you're gonna have a coaster. All right, Vince, moment of truth. Here we go. You getting nervous?
Yeah.
No need to be nervous. It's gonna pop off just like
Wow.
that.
That is slick.
And another one can pop out just the same. There we go.
Those turned out perfect.
They do look good, don't they? You just never know what you're going to get, and that's the fun part of all this, is you just never know what's going to turn out. But yeah, I like that quite a bit. Feels like there's just a little bit of an edge here. Might want to just take a little sandpaper and soften that just a little bit, but otherwise I think we're ready to go here.
Wow, I'm impressed. That really turned out nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited too. I've done a few coasters. I've not done with the silicone mold, but I sure like that and sure like the way that popped out. So the takeaway here is stir well. Make sure your temperature is between 68 and 77 degrees. Trust the process and have fun. So here you go, Vince. You got yourself a coaster.
All right, thanks.
What about that?
Got one improvement for it.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, no, we're not doing that, dude. This is what we're doing right here.
Cheers.
For more information on this or anything else at the Woodsmith store, check us out at thewoodsmithstore.com. There you go, Vince. I knew you could do it.